All right. Oh, let's go ahead and get started at 8:55. We'll just give it a few minutes for some technical things.
Oh, I have one. Oh. Somebody must not have it. Yeah, we all have our own.
Yeah.
We all have our own.
He sent it out to us.
Oh, yes. I thought so. Thank you.
No, I have it here.
Matt just is.
All right. We want to go ahead and get started.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the Wednesday, September 27th, Albany Revitalization Agency meeting at 8:54 p.m. Let's go ahead and start with a roll call.
Chair Newton,
Present.
Board Member Kopsinski.
Here.
Montague,
Here.
Smith. Here. McGee.
Present.
Novak.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Fantastic. Thank you. So next item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from June 28th, 2023. Pages 2 to 3 in your packet. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve. We have a change?
We are referred to as commissioners in those minutes and we're members rather than commissioners. It's a,
Semantics.
it's just a
yeah.
little thing, but I just mentioned that.
I motion that we approve the minutes with the correction of commissioners.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next item on our agenda is business from the public. Allison, did we have anyone sign up? Fantastic, thank you. Oh, we want to double check?
Don't have anybody left.
Oh, fantastic, all right. Did anyone in the chambers want to speak before the ARA this evening? No, seeing none, we're going to move on with the next item on our agenda, which is scheduled business, which pertains to the approval of a railroad construction and funding agreement. Ms. Adams? There you are. I was expecting to come from somewhere else.
If I have a point of
There we
order,
go.
is this the appropriate time
Sure.
to make it? Thank you. I'm a little confused, so I need some help. Are we giving this money directly to the railroad? Or are we giving it to the city to give it to the railroad? My question is about who the actual applicant is in this section, in this situation. And I'm referring to legally. If the answer is the railroad, then why have we not spoken to them directly?
Matilda, let's go ahead and ask that question. We'll get it answered right after this part of our meeting.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I should
sorry, I
let
thought
them
the
go
point of
first?
order was
Okay.
for procedural, not for pertaining to the item on the agenda.
well,
I
it is
apologize.
actually procedural in a sense, if you'd let me get to the end of the
Okay.
paragraph, and I apologize I had to write it out because I knew I'd be tired, and I am. I've been yawning for an hour and a half. Anyway, forgive me. So my question again, and it is procedural because if the answer is the railroad, then why have we not spoken to them directly? If the answer is the city of Albany, here's the procedural part, then does that not make our city manager the de facto applicant's representative? Because if that's the case, it would appear to me that we have a conflict of interest. If Peter's talking to us in private or after public comment is closed, that seems a little bit unusual because applicants don't usually get to lobby us privately without rebuttal. I have a lot of regard for Peter, and Peter, I hope you know this. I appreciate your advice and your counsel, but if you represent the applicant in this case, it has all the appearance of a conflict of interest, and I would hate to see these proceedings overturned on a technicality. So, Mr. Kidd,
Counselor, I heard the question was, is it the city or is it the railroad? And I heard the whole thing about Peter, but I wasn't on the question itself. What was the actual question itself? Because you said is if the answer is the city or if the answer is the railroad?
Yeah, so the question is the actual applicant in this situation legally. Is it the railroad? Is it, and if it is the railroad, why have we not spoken to them directly? If it's the city, then Peter represents the city as our city manager.
This
and-
may be and I get where you're going, but this
Okay.
may be a Stacy question.
I'm right here.
Oh, Stacy, yeah, I'm looking back
Right,
there.
Jerome? We're all
There we go.
tired.
It's- yeah.
Everybody's tired.
So I'll tell you what I think. I think the city's the applicant, but I'll.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. So in this case, Water Avenue is right away that the city owns. The tracks in Water Avenue, they're owned by Burlington Northern Railroad, but they're operated by Portland and Western. When the city initiated a diagnostic meeting with the railroad and also the ODOT Rail Division to discuss the rail improvements on Water Avenue. I mean, basically, we're the applicant. So we initiated the application with ODOT Rail to revise the crossing orders to make the improvements. And then as part of this, we have this construction and funding agreement with Portland and Western. Portland and Western will actually be hiring the contractor to construct the improvements. But the city's on the hook to pay for them because we're the ones that want the crossings improved.
So I don't really understand how improving the crossings. I mean, it's obvious to anybody who's on Water Street that the rail crossings are a mess. But would that not be deferred maintenance on the part of the railroad? And why would we be giving money for deferred maintenance?
It's for access for our pedestrians to get from one side of the railroad to the other. It wouldn't be, from my understanding, deferred maintenance on the railroad because their railroads work fine. But it would be for an accessibility feature for our residents to get across their railroad. They aren't required to provide that kind of access for our residents, but it is in our best interest. One, Americans with Disability Act, we want to make sure that everything is accessible to people, especially when we're spending a lot of money to get from get people down to the park, right? But yeah, so we're kind of helping facilitate these adjustments, and because they own the property of the railroad, it's kind of where we have to kind of work in partnership in order to get what we want done, but we need to work with them because we can't also mess with their railroads.
Yeah. And just as an example, so the city cannot require a railroad to maintain or make improvements to their track. As an example, we all know how horrible the Queen Avenue crossing is. It's unsafe. We've been trying to work with ODOT for decades to get that improved. But we do not have the authority. ODOT Rail Safety Division, they were granted authority by the state of Oregon to ensure the safety of all railroad crossings. So ODOT really is the only agency that can force improvements on railroad tracks.
That makes sense. If we're using city money to improve the railroads, that's fine, but we're talking about CARA money, I thought. And so I have a problem with giving millions of dollars of taxpayer money to the railroad when the railroad is a $1 corporation that, to my mind, ought to take care of their own issues with things falling apart. I don't feel good about if you're going to give city money, I don't have a problem at all. It's again, the issue with giving CARA funds to improve a railroad, which I'm also not sure that does that particular neighborhood a whole lot of good.
Marilyn?
I think it might do them more harm than good.
Marilyn, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have a comment. We're spending CARA money to do this work because it's part of the CARA waterfront project.
Chair Newton, may I suggest that we
Period.
let Stacy give her
Of course,
presentation. then.
yes. Ms. Belcastro, please proceed.
Sure, thank you. So the item before you tonight is we are requesting that the agency authorize the Public Works Director to sign the funding agreement with Portland and Western Railroad. This agreement is included as attachment 1. The funding agreement outlines improvements for at-grade rail crossings along the Water Avenue corridor that will be constructed to tie into the waterfront improvements that are under construction. The improvements are going to comply with the revised crossing order that was issued by the ODOT Rail Safety Division. The crossing improvements include installation of approximately 700 feet of new track, new concrete panels, and then ballast will be installed as well. They're going to be accommodate pedestrian access across the tracks to access the waterfront that will comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Currently, none of the crossings do comply with ADA. This was something that was brought up by several members of our ADA focus group that participated in the development of the Public Works transition plan for the right-of-way. In fact, one of the members was frustrated about having to be transported by car and instead of being able to use their wheelchair to access the park. Also, we're going to be abandoning 2 at-grade pedestrian crossings. And then another thing that ODOT agreed to for this particular work is that at the Jackson and Hill Street intersections, currently those are stop controlled only on the east-west portion on Water Avenue. And so this work will convert those to an all-way stop, which is going to be a lot safer for, I'm sure most people have driven down Water Avenue. It's very counterintuitive that somebody exiting a driveway from a private business has the right of way over somebody driving in a public street. So that change will be made. So the estimated cost of these improvements, it is expensive. It's $2,379,000. But that does include a 10% contingency. We won't have the actual final amount until Portland and Western selects their contractor, which is supposed to happen next month. The budget summary does note dedicating $2.75 million of the district's remaining spending authority. This was discussed with the agency during the April meeting, and so that's shown in the budget summary. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the budget summary shows using $500,000 of transportation system development charges. I should have noted that this is an estimated amount. We won't know the actual amount of TSDC funds that could be needed to address a funding gap until Portland and Western selects their contractor in October. Once that does happen, we'll be coming back to council, and then we could also come back to a CARA meeting or an agent's ERA meeting if needed, just to discuss allocating the TSDCI funds. I don't know, I have a lot of bullet points I was going to talk about, but recognizing the late hour, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I did want to point out that one thing that was a real win-win in this crossing order is that ODOT finally agreed to not require the installation of automated crossing arms when we changed for these crossings in previous decisions by ODOT. You can see this at Jackson Street and Hill Street. When development happened, crossings were improved, they required crossing signals be installed. These are very expensive. Probably around the magnitude of $700,000 per crossing. And so if you were to apply that number to the 9 crossings that are being improved with this order, what is it, 6.3 million? And so, I mean, this is the most favorable ruling that the city has had from ODOT in the past like 20+ years. And I am available to answer questions.
Ray?
Go ahead, you first.
Good, because I have more. Thank you. One of them, I understand about ADA improvements. That makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. Not a problem there. But I do, I want to ask about these improvements resulting in more trains and more trains moving more quickly through that neighborhood, because to me that would, I don't understand, sort of, to a degree. I understand ADA improvements. What I don't understand is why we're making improvements when they don't use it's a track that doesn't get a lot of use. Are they making improvements so that there'll be more trains running through there quicker? Because the people in that neighborhood, they already consider the trains a nuisance. And I want to make sure that my constituents are being properly informed of how this will impact their lives, their homes, their neighborhood. And I'm not sure that their voices, I'm not sure they've been adequately notified about the impact that is going to have.
As someone whose windows rattle at 3 a.m. every day, because of the trains on that railroad, I feel that the improvement of these 10 crossings that are for pedestrians would not have a larger business impact on the number of trains, especially when you consider the amount of mileage that each train is hauling freight. I think it's a drop in the bucket. It's not something that's going to cause a railroad to make larger business decisions. That's just what I've checked.
Do you know if there's any way we can get that in writing from the railroad?
Sure.
The track is restricted as far as the speed that the trains can go on the track. And so there's nothing in place none of these improvements are going to allow trains to go any faster just because.
Or more of them?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'm really glad to know that.
Ray, I saw you had a comment, then also then we'll pop over to Peter.
Oh, yeah, just a question. We've got 2 meetings coming up real quickly for ERA. The 2nd of October and the 4th of October, or is any of this being discussed at that? Any of those?
No.
It's only the 2nd of October. I can say that for clear now.
Okay.
There's a very remote chance you would need the 4th, but we think that it'll only be the 2nd, and that's to talk about another
Okay,
issue.
all right.
But Chair Newton, I wanted to address Councilor Novak's or Board Member Novak's. These are improvements to crossings, not to the railroad.
Thank you. I
So that
appreciate that.
nothing changes with respect to the railroad. In fact, what you could tell your constituents is that their lives are improved because they have safer and easier access to get across the railroad.
Well, that is genuinely my hope, and I thank you for that. Can I ask yet another question based on the presentation we had tonight from Obi? I don't know if any of you have considered this, but I'm excited actually after the field trip that I took, and I wasn't actually expecting to be excited after seeing what they did out there, but I'm a little bit concerned about the possibility that we're putting the cart before the horse. We have this beautiful horse with Obi, and we don't even know what they're going to present. And I'm just thinking, if we tear up that street and then they're going to have to tear it up again when Obi does their thing to get to the buildings. I feel like we should just a little bit consider putting the brakes on until we see what Obi's going to present, because why would we tear the street up and then tear it up again?
I don't think they would tear crossings. That wouldn't be on the property line. But also,
You think that's a non-issue?
I think
There's
it's an
no-
absolute non-issue, yeah.
Okay. Again, I would be encouraged if that is the case.
They specifically called out our waterfront project and how excited they were for us to complete the project.
Yes, I do understand that. I'm just hopeful. I just feel like it might be wise to see what they're going to present to us.
But this is part of that project. that they want us to complete so that they can do.
They said to us that they want us to do the crossing arms and the railroad.
This,
All right. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
They reached out to me and Seth, well, Seth reached out to me, Brian called me. They're excited about us investing in ourselves. So this is the perfect project for them because they know that we're serious about developing that waterfront. That's part of the waterfront development is those train crossings. They will be messing with the train crossings. They'll be across the street doing their thing if they decide to go forward. So we're not putting the cart before the horse. We're actually laying the foundation so they can spend money in our city and invest in our city. I think this is, we're getting too far into the weeds in my perspective. We know we're committed to doing this project. The train has left the station, the proverbial train left the station. And so, anyway, it is, no pun intended. What I'm saying is that this project is happening. We can't put the brakes on it. The money only lasts so long. The longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost to get this stuff done. So I think we're arguing circularly about this thing.
how many train puns are you gonna try to get in at once? That's my
I
question.
actually was not trying to be funny.
Okay, all right.
I'm
Okay,
saying,
so any other questions, on the floor? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I have a motion to make a motion to approve the awarding of the contracts to construction funding agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
All right, so we will record that and we'll move over to the next item on our agenda, which is staff updates.
I won't keep you long with any staff updates. I just will note that our next meeting is on October 2nd, and we'll get those agendas out to you as soon as possible.
Excellent, thank you. All right, business from the agency, Hermesia,
No.
Ray,
Nothing.
Alex,
I'm excited about this. I'm good. Thank you.
awesome. Marilyn,
What he said.
all right, Jackie. And Matilda.
Well, I have concerns. I've expressed them. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, awesome. And yeah, I'm looking forward, I'm excited to hear that the waterfront project might be under budget and looks like we'll still have some funds to play with down the road. Yeah, so as Peter mentioned, next meeting would be a work session on Monday, October 2nd. And that is in regards to the Wells Fargo building. And with that, we're adjourned at 9:15 p.m.